You are a psych music fan and you like your psych music thudding and fuzzy and feedback laden and distorted with a lot of noise at the edges and a little Velvet Underground vibe whenever things slow down, then I highly recommend the Telescope's new one right there. That is a great old school, just noise drenched psych album with some pretty ridiculous guitar playing. Check it out. Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie, currently ranking and reviewing every single Frank Zappa album released after he passed in December of '93. I've done all the ones prior to his passing already on this channel. If you're interested, seek them out. And we are on number 49, Joe's Christmasage, Xmasage, however you want to call it. That's the name right there in the corner. That corner, I don't know. But anyways, Joe's Christmasage. This is another of the archival releases by Joe Travers, the archivist for the ZFT. I don't know which number this was in the series. But anyways, it's not the first, that much I know. This was released in 2005, and the Joe's series are essentially a bunch of really deep dives into Frank's catalog. A lot of audio recordings. One of them is literally one side of a cassette bootleg tape from a '75 show. Just released this. There are rehearsal tapes in there, and this one is just a bunch of pre-Mother's audio recordings and musical live recordings. It's an interesting listen. There's a couple things on it musically that are worth checking out. But I think the more interesting things on here are the audio excerpts, which are pretty lengthy. But because it's audio, and by audio, I mean talking. I mean, it's all audio, obviously. But I mean, it's talking. It's not music. It's more like a field recording, or it's, something recorded for another purpose, not for music. They're interesting, but I don't go back to them a lot because I don't want to listen to people talk. I want to listen to music when I listen to Frank. So if you're a really, really hardcore fan, again, we're at that stage where all of these later ZFT releases, I'm glad they're released. I'm glad this was released. I enjoyed it. There's some conceptual continuity clues in there for if you want to connect the dots between all of Frank's craziness that's all over the place. I enjoy listening to it the couple times I have listened to it, but it's just not something I seek out because it's mostly talking. So it's 11 tracks, 55 minutes long. The first one is a Mormon Christmas dance report in which Frank's first wife, I believe, I don't think it's Gail, I think it's his first wife, is asking Frank to describe a Mormon dance that him and Ray and whatever version of the Mothers was around that time played. Prelude to the Purse, which is a conversation that's just recorded. The Purse is a track that occurs later on, which is a really good listen, but it's all talking. An alternate mix of a song called Mr. Clean, a pre-Mother song, an early Why Don't You Do Me Right, which is a pretty fun track. It pretty much is, the entire thing is, why don't you do me right? Why don't you do me wrong? Why don't you do this? Why don't you? I mean, it's just Frank riffing, and then there's a call and response with somebody. It doesn't sound like Ray Collins. I probably should have looked that up to see who this call and response was. I don't think it's with Ray Collins. It's with, I took notes on this. I just forgot to memorize them. It's with him and someone named Floyd. Don't know who Floyd is. But you got things like, you got me scratching like a hound, got me scratching like a hound, and a call and response. The mix is pretty weird. It only sounds like there's guitar, but you can tell there's a little bit of drums, possibly bass, like buried really low in the mix. But it pretty much just sounds like Frank's playing guitar and improvising these lyrics, and Floyd is just kind of yelling in the background and echoing him. It's a fun listen. It's like 5 minutes long. So it's worth checking out, especially if you like that song. This is probably the musical highlight of the entire track. There's the Mother's Power Trio, which starts off with like just over a minute of really good, almost Cream-esque type live power trio type stuff with Frank on guitar, a couple more musicians, obviously 2 more. But then after a minute and a half, the last 2 minutes of this track is Frank trying to get random people on stage to do random things. Apparently, Helen's going to come on stage and do something, but she's got to run the pumps first. But I don't think we ever find out what Helen does. Then we get the purse. Over 11 minutes of some guy who's just a friend of Frank's going through somebody's purse, a woman's purse, obviously. This is the 60s. Men weren't carrying purses back then. Describing the contents quite well. It's kind of entertaining. At one point, he finds a letter and he reads the entirety of the letter. And it is from what appears to be a high school girl who lives in Barstow, California, which right now Barstow is pretty much the extended suburbs of Southern California, connecting it all the way up through Las Vegas. Though after Barstow, I think it gets a little desolate. But back then, I mean, at least back in the 70s and 80s when I lived in Southern California, Barstow was a McDonald's and a gas station in the middle of nowhere. It was the stop between Vegas and Southern California on interstate. What interstate is? I forgot what interstate that was. But anyway, 15. I think it's on 15. Yeah. So, anyways, and now it's a much bigger town. But back then, Barstow was small town California in the Central Valley of California, small town America. So it's interesting, the descriptions of her life. Frank used some of that material for songs like Status Back Baby, and it seemed like it informed maybe a lot of his early mother's writing about teenage America was this letter. So there's like weird conceptual continuity. It's obviously very voyeuristic because it's, they're going through somebody's purse. I don't think they mention who this girl is, who this woman is. But it's pretty interesting. It's pretty entertaining. It's kind of funny. The guy who's describing the contents of the purse, it's like a guy who's like in a morgue describing like a body, and he's got the little microphone on. And here we have a laceration that's 3 inches long and stuff like that. It's kind of interesting, this description. But again, it's not something I need to hear very often because I know what it is. The Moon Will Never Be the Same, which is a short little mother's electronic noise. There's electronics, there's mother, your random mother noise sections where the mothers would make lots of noise. There's the Gtr Trio, which is a studio jam. This is 11 minutes and 21 seconds of this. I don't think this is that interesting. I don't think Frank's playing is all that. It's mostly, them just kind of jamming away. I don't think it's all that interesting or good. And it's long. So it's kind of a waste of 11 minutes in the middle of the track, but might be worth checking out for once. I don't know, probably not. Suck It Rocket is him and Ray Collins doing this weird interview thing where Ray Collins is pretending to be someone else. Ray Collins is a pretty funny guy in all these audio documentaries. I think whenever Ray's talking, it's usually pretty entertaining, but whatever. Mousie's First Christmas, more just kind of random noise. And then the Uncle Frankie Show, which was him doing a sort of a live radio show from Studio Z, Pomona College, or both. He mentions both. Maybe Studio Z was on Pomona College in Claremont, I'm not sure. But this is really kind of funny because in the beginning he starts talking about the opera, the rock opera they're going to do, or the musical, I Was a Teenage Malt Shop. And then he goes, well, we have ideas for other plays you can do. Maybe you can do I Was a Teenage, what are some of them? I made a list of what they were, and now I don't have my list. I'm going to grab my list and pause this right here. So some of the examples were, I was the teenage lord of the jungle, and then Frank gives a little description of what that entails. I was a teenage hubcap. I was a teenage gas station attendant, which possibly informs the lyrics for Wind Up Working in a Gas Station, which would appear, 10 years later. And this goes on for like 6 or 7 minutes, and it's pretty funny. Frank's descriptions of what these stories would entail are some pretty satirical commentary on musicals, on teenage life, on just things in general, and that's kind of entertaining. And then he starts talking about the play, and then he closes out the entire thing. He discusses how they recorded Teenage Malt Shop, and he plays the different tracks of the five track recording, and then he plays some blues guitar at the end. It's like almost 12 minutes of this, and it's entertaining. But I don't need to go back to it over and over again because it's not music, and that's why I'm here, is for the music. So that's what Joe's Xmasage is. Again, it's one of those releases for the hardcore fans. I think if you're just a casual Zappa fan, you're not going to get anything out of this. Though the Purse and the Uncle Frankie Show are entertaining. I think the best part of the Uncle Frankie Show is at the end, when he's wrapping up the show, he asks people to send in pictures of their kittens and let Frank know how many kittens their cats are having. I always found that interesting. So anyways, but that's it. My number 49 favorite post-Zappa release. Don't listen to it that often, but I will admit I do enjoy it when I do listen to it. So, but that's it. Let me know what you think about this. If you've heard it, if you check it out, let me know what you think in general. And subscribe, because the way these algorithms work is more people get to see it, and then we spread the love of Frank and all that jazz. So anyways, take care. Stay warm if you're in the United States, because we're enduring a crazy winter storm all across this country. Very seldom are we all enjoying the same weather here in the States. But this week we are, and it's miserable. All right, take care, y'all. Peace.